Oh my goodness. It's so fun seeing these little baby pigtails. These are so freaking cute. I had stopped doing space buns for a while just because it like wasn't working with my hair. And now I'm back in the era of space buns and I'm like all here for it. But today we are going to be hanging out, doing a Q&A over here on TikTok, over here on YouTube for any questions you may have around human design or gene keys or how you use them in business. And so I always leave the door open for any questions that come through. This is like a cloudy day in the desert right now. So I'm just feeling like laid back. I'm feeling chill, but something that I really wanted to zero in while we were talking today, like in between questions, in between anything that you have like on your mind, like things you want to ask about your business, about the strategy that you can do, because I am a big believer that these gene keys, they really combine like mindset work mixed with energetics and actual action that we can take to get results in our business. And so it's not just about knowing this information that are in your gene keys. It's about how are we going to apply it? How are we going to use it to help us attract clients, to help us create content that feels really, really like us, that feels soul led and feels good to make. And in turn, hey, Amber, and in turn, you make money doing the things that you love. And so one key that I have not focused on a lot lately, because I've been so obsessed with the radiance key lately, but one key that is super duper important that I really haven't zoomed in on for a while, since I probably taught my first round of the Gene Key course, is the vocation key. And so if you're brand spanking new to the Gene Keys and you've never read your Gene Keys before, I want you to go Google free Gene Key profile, and the Gene Key website will come up and it'll say, hey, you want your free profile? And then you just enter your date. What's that key? Oh, I'll tell you where it is in the chart in a second. So you just enter your date, time, location of birth, and then it will pull you up a chart of 11 different circles. And I remember the first time that I saw this chart, I was like, what in the flippity flop does this mean? Because this is madness. There's so many words. There's so many circles. What is it all about? So I'm very, very passionate about teaching the gene keys through the lens of like, basically gene keys for dummies, because that's what I needed. Like I needed the idiot's guide to gene keys whenever I first started. And instead, because it didn't exist out there, I just went total troll mode and I just learned and learned and learned for months and months and months until I was like, okay, how can I explain this? Hey, Nicole, how can I explain this in an easy breezy way? How can this be fun? So if you go over on my Instagram, I had the most fun this morning because I just made, a guide of like the first 7 gene keys through memes. And if you have not been over on my Instagram, like I live and breathe on memes now. And that was not something that I used to always do. In fact, I used to be very prim and proper in my business, and I was missing part of my sparkle, which was actually in my gene keys. So even as a gene key reader, I knew that it was in my chart, but I was not utilizing it to the fullest extent to bring in fun, to bring in humor. And oh my golly goodness, now I get so obsessed with making fun content around the gene keys. So if you want to learn it in a different kind of way, make sure you follow me over there as well. But so you have entered your date, time, location of birth into the gene key little computer system, right? And it pulls up those 11 circles. So today I really want to, in between questions and any questions that you have about your gene keys, about your human design, about your profile lines, about certain spheres, go ahead, put them down below. I'm just kind of going to be teaching a lesson behind the scenes as we sit here and we just hang out. Ooh, okay. So the vocation though, if you're staring at your gene key chart, it's going to be one of them in the blue sequence. So you can see there's green, there's red, there's blue. So the green is all about, and I think sometime this week, I'm going to do like a little mini masterclass on here about the different sequences, just to give you like a taste of what's happening in my Decode Your Keys course. That starts, by the way, mid-September, but whenever you sign up this week, you get the pre-sale pricing and you get instant access to the round 1 that we did before. Ooh, okay. So your vocation though, so if you zoom into the blues, right? The blue circles, it is the bottom one to the left, and it'll say core wound / vocation. And so basically what happens with this gene key is this is the one where you take your greatest wound and you turn it into your biggest asset. So for me, for example, mine is the 27. And this is like whenever we talk about energy of careers, there's three gene keys that we really look at. It's like the life's work, the life's purpose, and this vocation, right? And so all of this combined together really helps you to understand like what you're here to do in business, like how you make money, and it blends all the different sequences together, all of your different superpowers, right? And so my vocation is the 27. And so what I had learned was like, throughout my past, I was living out this 27, but every single time I've evolved, it's just gotten deeper and deeper and deeper. And so the 27, if you're unfamiliar with this gene key, I see it a lot and a lot of people that I work with, to be honest with you, whether they're spiritual entrepreneurs, whether they're business coaches, or even like fitness, like it just seems to be the type of genre of like helping people that I see the 27th gene key a lot. And so this is very much, I like to think about it as if you're on an airplane and this flight attendant tells you, hey, put your oxygen mask on before you put the mask on the person next to you. Like make sure that you are nurturing yourself and taking good care of yourself before you take care of that person next to you. Because when you do, you'll be able to breathe and you won't be passing out trying to put oxygen on this person, right? And so there's so much about like nurturing yourself that comes in with this 27th gene key. But also like once you do that for yourself, you have this like full cup that's overflowing and it really is able to spill out to other people. So I used to be the kind of bird back in the day where I would try to help people, but I would drain myself crazy because I wasn't actually helping from something that was my gift, from something that felt good to me. So very much with this 27th gene key, it talks about this idea of like, don't go fluff the pillows for someone unless you love fluffing pillows. Like don't go make a casserole to brighten somebody's day unless you love making casserole for people. Like show up with your gifts because you're going to feel full and that makes somebody else feel even better too whenever you're giving from that full cup. Okay, so I want to go back up and see what everybody's talking about. Ooh, Tiana, 4-1 manifesting generator. Okay, I'm obsessed with manifesting generators right now. Like I'm having a real fun time with line 5s and manifesting generators. Nicole knows this. She's probably heard me say this past week because I have been having the most fun. Like the coolest people coming through manifesting generators in line 5s. But your 4-1 is so different because it's such a rare profile. You know, it seems like every other one of the human design profiles, there'll be like more people that have one and then less people that have one, like more people that have one and less people that have one, you know? And so if you think about the 3-5, like you hear a lot more 3-5s than you do 3-6s. The 5-1s, you see more 5-1s than you do 5-2s. And so it just kind of goes like back and forth like that. And in the 4-1s, like you get to lead with that big thumping, squishy heart of yours, your pain, your pleasure, all of the things that you love in your content. And you just make people feel so seen and so heard. And you get to do this through all of your different interests. And so I always love to give the advice to manifesting generators. How can you take what you love? How can you take what you love and all these different things, right? And shoot it through one lens so that you can be really focused. Because like manifesting generators, a lot of times, just the way that the projectors do whenever it comes to hearing like, oh, I'm supposed to wait around for the invitation. And then they sit back, or like same with line 2s. Oh, I'm supposed to just like have all this chill time. And then they sit back and don't do anything. It's like, da, 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 da. So manifesting generators get this rap of like, oh, I'm too squirrel brained or I'm too crazy to like be able to harness all these different things that I love because I jump from one thing to the next. And it's like, I call a challenge. Like I call this as a challenge for you to see just how much you can focus in on something and get organized, because some of the very wealthiest people that I've come across in the industry just in this last year have been manifesting generators. Like they are brilliant. You are brilliant people. And whenever I said an expression yesterday, somebody tell me if this expression exists or if I just like created it from other expressions in my mind. And so yesterday I said the expression, I was like, it's trying to put a saddle on the wind, right? And so manifesting generators a lot of times can just feel like they're so fleeting. They're so different. Like they're so they're so busy and ahead of their time with the way that they think. But honestly, you get to use that and see that as a challenge in itself and that you can master this thing. So yeah, use that 4-1 though. If I were you, I would be doing like, go Google. This is like what my nerdy butt does. And since you have a 1 in your profile, you can probably appreciate this as well. I call it the kitchen sink method. And this is where I go gather up as much as I can from like human design understanding, from gene key understanding, from Google, from books, and I just challenge you to go to Google and look up the 4-1 profile and read all of the different articles about it so that you can get a different kind of feel about yourself and see where the truth like rings for you. And so I love that because you just get a bigger, bolder sense of like who you are, what you've come here to do. And then just like I talk about this with reflectors a lot, because the 4-1, just like a reflector, because the 4-1 is so unique, you would do well by like putting that on your profile and being like, this is who I am. This is what I want to do. Like, this is what I do. This is who I help. And 4-1s will come out of the woodwork and feel so seen by you because not a lot of people interpret the world the way that you do. So use it to your advantage. Use your differentness to your advantage. Okay, Nicole's vocation is the 37.4. I think we had like a little bit talked about this one before, Nicole, but this is like that cheerleader energy, but like this master salesperson. So it's almost like you are able to really like light people up and make them feel good. And like this almost sounds like, okay, we have to ditch the idea of sales being a bad thing, right? Of like selling to people and of touching on their emotions and of like getting to the core of what it is that they are wanting to fix and what they are wanting to adjust. And the fact is, like, here's the bottom line. You like zhuzh people up, you make them feel good. And that makes them say, yes, I want to be in this thing. I want to buy this thing from you. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, like see that as your superpower because at the end of the day with that 0.4, you are so natural at sales and you are selling a piece of your heart. It doesn't even matter like what it is kind of coaching, what it is kind of course that you're selling to people. It's actually just a piece of you. And people are going to see you and they're either going to be like, heck yes, you're for me, or heck no, because I know you're the 5-1 too. So very much like the more you put yourself out there like that with being okay with not being for everybody, it's the heck yes, heck no. But knowing that like you can sell to the people that are ready to buy. Like they've just been waiting for someone like you. And whenever you infuse them with like this, you can do it. Like, I believe in you. This is how I did it for myself. This is the way that I changed my mindset around this. This is the way that I changed my schedule around this. That makes other people feel like, oh my gosh, I can do this too. Like I'm infused with Nicole's energy. And now I'm like, I want to say yes to this thing. I want to get in this person's world and I want to be held accountable in this energy. So Chia Lita vibes. Like, and this comes from that background. Like I always say, this vocation is almost like the greatest wound turned into the biggest asset. Oh, I love whenever people are commenting at the same time that I'm doing all this. But whenever you take that greatest wound and turn it into your biggest asset and realize all the times where you pewed on yourself and like as you master being that cheerleader for your own energy and how you go about your business, that is the exact juice, like the things that you nurture yourself with every day to have a positive attitude about your business. Because like we all know, not every single day are you going to be like, I'm 112% rainbows and butterflies. I'm like, everything's perfect. Like you're a human being. Like you're going to have these moments where you're like, I am on top of the mountain. And you're going to have other moments where you really like pull yourselves up by your bootstraps and you're like, let's go. I'm like, I'm ready. I'm going to have a different frame of mind about this. So all of those things, like I almost challenge you to take every time that you do this like mindset work for yourself around your business, around the actions that you take, around even the way that you think, and almost like just start writing them down in your notes section and realizing that like that is the exact juice that you can put into a post. And it doesn't have to be crazy. It doesn't have to be long. We've talked about that before. You've taken keys to content, which is like I'm so obsessed with that masterclass because it's full of like that lickety split wisdom, right? And so you get to take all of that and just like have those be like little mic drop posts throughout the days. And people will be like, oh my God, I want guidance from that person because you're actively walking yourself through it. And that helps other people to see like, oh, I can easily do this too. Or like, oh, I never thought about it that way. So the website is it's genekeys.com, but I always just go Google free gene key profile and then it like pulls up that spot where you can put in your date, time, location of birth. Burnt out reflector. Okay, so I'm having more and more reflectors come into my world. I feel like every single day, and I'm still learning so much about you guys. And what I can say, and I was touching on this a little bit earlier, is that like you've got to realize that you have a superpower being a reflector because so few people see the world the way that you do. So first and foremost, I just want you to like take a deep breath in and realize how different you are, realize how special you are, and that none of the limiting beliefs that are held around reflectors has to determine the rest of your life. Because I know that like that can probably, like from the reflectors that I've known in my own personal life, like I know that that can probably feel almost like a heavy feeling of like, oh, these centers are open and like, what is it that I'm going to do? Actually, I almost think of that as a beautiful thing, that it's almost like you get to choose your own adventure. So it's really fun. If you were to like look at, because I love to combine the gene keys and human design, just so you know, because I don't feel like the gene keys are finished or done. Like I feel like they're going to add on to it. But B, there's so much juice in the human design chart that we can blend in with your gene keys as well. And so what I would do if I were you, I don't know if you've seen a lot of these posts on like different human design. Becca Francis is a really good one over on Instagram. She does a lot of different posts about like what your defined centers mean versus undefined centers and how you can sell around those things. And so literally, I want you to just go look at that little map of all of these open centers, because the open centers are actually the ones that you're meant to sell through. So you get to choose your own adventure of what's fun. Like the very nitty gritty of my teaching, beyond gene keys, beyond human design, beyond business strategy and mindset, is to have fun in your business and have fun making money, have fun attracting clients. Like that is at the very beating heart of what it is that I teach and what it is that I believe. And so it's almost like just, so I have an open solar plexus, right? Open heart, open solar plexus, open mind, and open ajna, right? Open crown, open ajna. And so I used to teach a lot through the lens of like emotions back in the day, right? So like that open solar plexus, and I would do it and I did it perfectly fine, but it didn't light me up. And actually it got to the point where I was like, ugh, I hate this. I don't want to talk about all the nitty gritty emotions anymore. And actually like that doesn't feel fun to me, because I was looking at like my line 5 profile and like all the other things that I have in my chart that could like steer me in the right direction of what I love teaching, right? And so I challenge you to just like go look at one of Becca Francis's Instagram posts, that there's so many of them that talk about these open centers, and be like, which one sounds fun to me? Because like if you look at the open heart, it's like you can be this money coach. If you look at the open mind, it's this mindset coach. And just play with those different ones. Like, how would it feel if I would do this? How would it feel if I would do that? And just kind of like pull the string of like, this feels interesting to me. What if I start posting around this? And here's the thing, at least for me, this is what I did for so long, is that I got caught up in the fact that it was like, okay, I've made this decision and now I have to be posting about this kind of stuff all the time. And like, there is a level of ownership and sticking with something, right? But at the same time, like, you're going to evolve the more that you post. Like your business and the way that you show up isn't just about this week. It isn't just about next month. It isn't just about this year. Like I have found that the more and more I let myself post about the things that like feel important in that moment, the better and more defined I get, the better and clearer I get. So like look at one of her charts and just be like, what sounds like fun? Because like this is the shit that so many people are missing. And I even was working with a client last week. I touched on this the other day, but her videos were getting like 1,600 views max on TikTok, right? And we had an hour conversation. And then she posted 2 videos and a third one that week. And the views were at 62,000, 45,000, 37,000, things like that. Overnight, from just this idea of like, you can have more fun with your business and it doesn't have to be so serious. So follow the fun. Like that's always going to be my mantra. Whenever it comes to things, it's like, follow the fun. Because that's where you're going to find, that's where you're not going to feel burnt out. Because I can tell you what, I could sit around and make memes all day and not feel burnt out because I'm having so much damn fun. You know what I mean? So, blah, blah, blah. Oh, you're a 1-3 reflector. Yes. I love that. So yeah, I think about these 1-3s as like you go and you like learn all this stuff. You study all this stuff. You like go from one rabbit hole to the next. And then you go out and play and you tell people your findings from what you've learned, right? It's like, I went and I learned all this and then I like went out and I actually used it. It's almost like studying how to do a certain workout and then going out and actually like doing the workout, right? And then you report back your findings to the rest of us, but you get to be really specific whenever it comes to like creating your content around like things that you've learned, like the stats behind things, like the real reason where it like, it's almost less intuitive in a sense of like, here's the facts because that makes people feel secure. Like there's something about like hardcore facts that make certain people that are going to be drawn to your work feel like, oh my gosh, this feels so safe. I feel like I'm melting into this information because it's not just airy fairy. It's like based in logic. And so play with that, experiment with that. Because at the end of the day, you're not just this little bookworm, right? You're not just this little learner. You have that 3, which that 3 craves diversity. That 3 craves adventure. So take that dense information, all of the fun stuff that you learn, and then have a blast with it, right? Me. Sorry, I gotta scroll back down to everybody. Oh, I'm not talking about just a website. Amber, whenever it comes to the vocation, it's a certain one of your circles, one of your spheres in the gene key chart. So if you're looking at your gene key chart, that top pyramid that's blue, it's the bottom one to the left. And that one is juicy, juicy, juicy. But yeah, make sure you go follow me over on Instagram too, if you want to learn more of this stuff.
Oh, my dad's calling me. That's nice.
Me. Okay, let me scroll down. Oh my gosh, we got so many little reflector angels in here today. So hopefully you heard my little spiel about reflectors earlier, where it's all about like literally use that reflector as like a badge of honor, because nobody else out there is really creating a lot of content as a reflector, at least that I have seen. So like use it, like sink your teeth into it, and the reflectors will come to you. Of course, like reflectors aren't the only people that you're going to teach, but sometimes it really does help whenever we start with like what we know and what we've experienced, right? So I teach a lot of manifesting generators because grew up in a house with manifesting generators. My business coach was a manifesting generator. I have a lot of clients that are manifesting generators. I am one gate away from being a manifesting generator. So like I understand that energy, just like I understand a generator's energy. But that doesn't mean that I am like hold and like stuck in just teaching those people. But whenever you start with what you know, you just grow from there. Like that's just inevitable. Like there were things that I taught about whenever I first started showing up in my online business that I don't talk about now, but that's just what I knew. And I was able to brick by brick build my knowledge, build my wisdom. So now I'm like, I talk about things. I'm like, this is what happens when you're in between launches. But whenever I didn't ever do a launch before, I didn't know how to talk about that kind of stuff or teach about that. So it just keeps building. What? Not a fan of being a 5-1 splenic projector? Oh my gosh. Girl, being a 5'1" is the grooviest thing in the world. Don't you know? Don't you know that being a 5'1" is so fun? Like, oh, you get to be so bold and so, oh, you found it. Cool. You get to be so bold and so brave. I'm looking through everybody else's stuff too. I'm such a squirrel whenever it comes to like the comments. I'm like up and down and up and down. So just stick with me. But I resonate more with the mental projector. That's interesting, Amber. And so there have been times throughout my voyage of human design and Gene Keys where I have very much like resonated with other things. And I say play with it. I say experiment with it. Like I've said before, I was so hungry for the 26 Gene Key whenever I was like reading it in a bunch of different business owners' charts that I was like, I'm going to become full blown obsessed with marketing and sales. And so like I studied a bunch of stuff on marketing and sales. I would go for runs every morning and listen to a podcast that was all this like kind of angry, sassy guy talking about marketing and sales in a totally different way than I had ever heard it before. It challenged me. It made me grow with my understanding of it because I was like, I'm going to zoom in on this 26 and I'm going to see what this is about. Most people that read human design are not going to tell you to play with it the way that I tell you to play with it, right? So just go and experiment. Like, go see how it works. Go see how it is for you. If you're like, hey, maybe I want to understand like what it is to be a mental projector. Cause like there's going to be a seed of wisdom that you learn from it. So go Google it, go read a little bit about it and take the pieces of gold that you need and see if you can even blend it in with being a splenic projector, right? So like we are not limited to just our charts. Like if you have ever heard about like Vedic astrology, like that totally says that you are a different sign than you think that you are. Like, I think I would be a Scorpio or a Virgo, like, I don't know. And so that would like change your understanding of yourself, right? Whenever my nerdy ass put in my, I found like, it was like on a back alley website about Vedic astrology and like your human design. And I put in my information and it said I was a 1-4. You know what I mean? And so it's like in all different Gene Keys. And you bet your bottom dollar, I gobbled all of those up. And I didn't feel as much of an affinity towards those as like the ring true as I have with like doing, what is it called? Like tropical astrology, like what we know of as astrology, like for my business and my own personal chart. So you get to decide what rings true for you. So just because I don't have a 26 in my chart doesn't mean that I'm not going to go do all of the things and have the mindset. So have the mindset of like, I am epic at sales and I am going to go take the actions and make the moves to like learn to be really good at sales by studying it and by showing up and selling daily. Like that's just a non-negotiable for me, right? And so just because it's not in your chart doesn't mean that you can't pull that in and make it your strength because you're drawn to that information for a reason. Even if you literally take one sentence from studying being a mental projector and infuse it into like your mantra, you infuse it into like how you see yourself, it'll never be time wasted. Me. I love cheering. Oh my gosh, I am behind on these comments. So, okay. Invasion. Wow, so many reflectors today. Yeah, like I said, if you're a reflector, go to Becca Francis's Instagram page. She talks about a lot of fun stuff. And I love her because like we got on a live one time and she's like, I love jumping into the pearl sequence of the Gene Keys. I was like, I do too. I don't like say that you have to learn it any certain way. I'm like, let's find your money-making juice and like go straight there. So I love her for that. But yeah, if you're a reflector, go look at Becca's different posts that have like the human design open centers and defined centers and see what you're pulled to. Like, see what feels really good. See what center like you'd want to teach from. Like, what seems so interesting? Do you want to teach about intuition? Do you want to teach about routines and stamina? What do you want to teach about? Mindset, money. And so whenever you do that, everything starts to change. I just got a really weird comment on the YouTube over here. Okay, so let's keep scrolling. After going live so many times, whenever you have like weird comments, it's like you just kind of scroll past it. But every now and then you're like, what in the flippity flop? Oh, I can't wait the breakdown of how you describe each gene key. Yeah, Nicole. So in my Decode Your Keys course that Nicole's referring to, this is if you are wanting to learn to read these gene keys for yourself and for your clients in a fun, easy, quick, enjoyable way, because at the end of the day, this can seem like very, very complicated information, and we take it and we break it down in a way that's like easy to digest, that feels fun and actually like clicks in your brain so that you can start using it right away. And so if that is something that you're like, hey, I want to learn how to read these, I want to like infuse this with my business. I've had people that do business coaching that have taken this course. I have people that are homeopaths and human design readers that have used this. I have people that do brand and strategy that have taken the first round of this course. And so whenever you sign up today, you get that pre-sale pricing because that ends on Friday. You get lifetime access to this program. And so what it is like every single time that I run this, it builds upon itself. So last round, we talked about all of the different profile lines in each one of the spheres. So all the numbers behind the decimals. And then this round, we're going to be going into like every single one of the 64 gene keys, and also this map to help you understand your business in a different way with like a blend of the gene keys in your human design, so that you can almost like map out like all these things that you help people with and all the ways that you can direct your energy, right? And so I'm excited to talk about each one of the 64 gene keys, because in the first round, I didn't realize how hungry people were to like learn my own interpretations, because I'm very, very big on learn the information and then speak it through your own lens. So if you have been in the human design world for a while and been following people on like Instagram, do you see where so many people regurgitate the same information and it almost gets like boring? It almost gets like dull. And so I think about these gene keys in a totally different way than they're described anywhere else on the internet, because I'm a firm believer that whenever we learn something, like I said, the kitchen sink approach, where you like you can learn it from the I Ching, you can learn it from human design, you can learn it from the gene key book or like websites about the gene keys, right? But then you let it filter through your own little system and speak it through your own understanding. So a lot of the times whenever I'm describing any of the 64 gene keys or even the profile lines, I have pictures in my brain, and sometimes those pictures are different than other times. And it's just like this intuitive message that comes through. So I found out last round of the gene key course, everybody's like, I want to hear what your interpretations are of each one of these. And so whenever we show up and we do this work in September, understand that it's like, these are my interpretations of it. And you can take the ones that feel good and you can be like, yes, this makes sense. This is how I understand it. But also we're going to have like a workbook in there where you can really like brainstorm out and like intuitively write out like, what does this key mean to you? And the more that you do readings with people and the more that you work with people, it'll change your understanding of what certain gene keys mean. Like for a while, I was talking about the 55 or the gene key 55, and there was like 2 days in a row that I talked about it, about being like Gandalf from Lord of the Rings and like his staff. And it was like this, you shall not pass, and all about like this pivot energy. And I had never described it that way before, but both of the people that I talked to literally had Gandalf's staff at their house. Like their husbands had it because they were obsessed with Lord of the Rings. And so I'm telling you what, you don't have to read these like anybody else. You don't have to read these like anybody else. It's almost like back in the day whenever I learned tarot cards. It's like you learn the meaning to help you understand, but then your intuition runs through and starts to steal the show. So like a different meaning for every person, and it becomes fun and light, and like it's not something that it's like, oh, I have to get this thing perfect. Like I've had so much fun doing lives with other human design readers, and they're like, I like the way that you say that. And I'll tell them like, I like the way that you say that about this certain one. And so every now and again, I meet people that like very much go by the book understanding of what each of the human design gates, AKA gene keys, mean. But every now and again, I mean, most of the time I come across people that are saying it in their own way, in their own verbiage, and that's really cool. Yay. But I'm excited to go over all 64, and especially that like business map. Ta-da. Your vocation is 42.4. Unsure what that means. I was just talking about the 4 or the point 4 with Nicole up there, that whenever you have that in your vocation, this is like a very, very natural salesperson. So kind of like how I was talking about the 26 gene key, there's a little bit of that essence in there as well. But this is like, anytime we see the 4s, like whenever it comes to the lines, so the decimal after that point 4, you bet your bottom dollar that this is all about like your big squishy heart. And like, this is all about community. This is all about like making connections with other people. And so you can sell in a very, very natural way. They also call this one the director. So I love to think about the vocation almost like, and this is in one of the books, but I love to think about the vocation as like all of the lines behind it, all of the numbers with decimals behind it, as like a different person in, ooh, gummy bear. Thank you. I love gummy bears. As a different person in the process of making a movie. And so there's like the writer, there's like the manager, there is the producer that brings everybody together. And then there's that point 4 that is all about being the director. And so like there is a leadership quality. It's a little different than the line 5 leadership where the 4 really does like bring communities together, and they're like this voice of this group, where the 5 is like, I'm going to stand up on the soapbox and I'm going to just shout the things that I need to shout. But with that 4, you can just sell anybody on anything. So start seeing that as your superpower. The 42, I have this in my evolution, and this has been one that I've spent a little bit of extra time with, but I realized, and I was even having like an epiphany with this the other day. It's called, I think it is either Christian Niche or Unlock Your Design that calls it the celebration doula. And so this is all about being really good at closing things out. So if you were to think about a company like that was taking on a project, there's going to be somebody that has like that Kickstarter energy that gets everything up and rolling. There's going to be somebody that has the persistence to see it through. And then there's going to be the person that like closes things out and like dust their hands, and they're like, okay, this is done. We can move on to the next thing. So whenever you have that in your vocation, it's going to be very important for you. And like the things that you can teach people is all about how to like close out chapters of their life and start fresh with something new. And this doesn't always have to be like the midlife crisis, crazy shit that we think about. Like this could be very, very simple of like closing out mindsets, closing out ways that people show up in their business that like aren't serving them anymore. Like there have been plenty of times where I have had to have different things show up in my life that kind of like disrupted my routine in a sense, so that I could realize like what I was doing that was working and what I was doing that could be thrown in the trash can, right? like things that just weren't working anymore. I even had this recently happen with like all summer. So I need to like follow along with the with the comments below as they go. Sell people on Apple products growing up. I never even worked there. That's so funny. Yours is a 0.4 as well. Ooh, one of the few 4s in your chart. Nice. Okay, cool. I'm glad. Thank you. I love these glasses too. They're blue blockers. But I just like them because they're rainbow. They make me happy. So recently I have that 42 as well. And I all summer was waking up at 5:30 in the morning so that I could run 2 miles, right? And I was not a run for fun kind of gal. I did track for a few minutes in like 7th grade so I could drink blue Gatorade with my friends. And I ran whenever I was about 20 years old. I ran for a few months, but I would smoke 2 cigarettes before and 2 cigarettes after, and then go party all night. So my running experience was like very small. And so I challenged myself once I got back from a business retreat in April from Vancouver. And I just like had this feeling. I was like, I really, really want to like start running. And so I built up the stamina over a week to start running 2 miles every day. Well, 6 days a week. So Monday through Saturday, I would wake up at 5:30 because it's hot in the desert in the summertime, and I would run. And so I had recently like went on a trip, and I kind of noticed things about my body where I was like, damn, I'm like getting really, really muscular, but I think that I could be doing something a little different. Like, I think I could be like slimming myself in a different way. Like maybe this running thing, like maybe I could like pull back on the running and start doing like more just Pilates, just mix it up. Right. But I didn't listen to that nudge, and I just kept running and I kept doing it until I had one of those moments where I had a weird muscle thing that gave me some days off of running, and I actually got really really thin, and some of that water weight that I was holding on to went down, and I started like shrinking, and I was like, okay, maybe for my body I don't need to be running 6 days a week. Like maybe that, like, unless I truly truly am obsessed with that, but actually no, I can make adjustments. I can make changes. I can close out that chapter because for 4 months straight, 6 days a week, I would run 2 miles every single morning. And so I had to like close out that chapter and be like, because I had a little bit of a disrupt, right? And it was like, hey, actually, whenever you take a step back from like charging head forward into this thing, you can close out that chapter and start something new. So now I'm going to run like maybe 2 or 3 times a week and then do like different exercises that are more like the dancer exercises and like elongating and just experiment and play. So hopefully that helps you understand yourself a little bit better and like how you can guide other people through the closing out of chapters that like you're not here for anymore. Like the more that you teach people with that 40-second gene key about like, this is what I learned, this is how I learned it, like the better. It's just going to keep getting better. So
Hopefully that helps.
I like to use stories or pictures in my mind to like describe these gene keys because that's just like the way that I understand them, right? Me, me, me. Meow, 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 meow. Meow, meow. Hi, Brooke. At 47, 22, 5. I'm trying to figure it all out. Understood? Yeah. Okay. Brooke, if you have not gone and followed me on Instagram yet, I just started a series where I'm posting all of the different gene key meanings and like memes as like a quick way to understand them and just a different way than it's being put out there everywhere else on the internet, just as a fun way to like have it click in your brain. So make sure you go follow over there. Oh, okay. So the 47, you and my husband must have a very like similar birthday then. If the 47 is in your life's work, am I sweating through my shirt? I might be sweating through my shirt. This is like my workout today, right? But that 47 is the alchemist. And I love using this as an example of like, I use my life's work, the 32, very literally. It's called the Success Oracle. And so I point people in the right direction of what will make them successful. I use my intuition mixed with the gene keys, mixed with business strategy, and I point people in the right direction, right? Very literal. My husband has that 47 and he does IT for a deli meat factory. And I'm going to make sure I scroll down in case I see some of your stuff too. Okay, you're still here. I'll find you on there because some interpretations confuse me. Understood. Some interpretations have confused me too. And it just took me like doing readings with people and just studying it and like playing around with it to get to the understanding that I have now. And they still keep unfolding. Like I promise you, like your understanding of it, the more that you like do it for yourself or you read it for other people, it just keeps unfolding more. And if you want to learn how to read these in a fun way, make sure you go to the link where it says decode your keys in the link in my bio. And I have a course that starts mid-September. But okay, so my husband uses the 47. He does IT at a deli meat factory and he makes sure that the buildings are running correctly, the machines are running correctly, all the way down to like people's cell phones and computers. He used to be like a one-man band and now he like has guys that are working for him too. But at first it was just him. And he was bound and determined to be this IT guy that didn't make people feel like shit. Like, you know how a lot of times people are like mean and they're like, oh my God, I have to call the IT guy and this is a bad thing. Because they're like, restart your computer, which he does tell people to restart their computer a lot. And I've learned how to do that for myself, by the way. Just if you ever have an issue, restart your computer. This is what I've learned being married to an IT guy. But as the alchemist, he is able to like problem solve and like fix people's issues with technology, but B, he is very like almost like emotionally supportive to the people that come to him with issues. And he tries to teach them how to handle the issues if they come up again. He tries to like make them feel better so that they can like calm down and realize like, hey, it's just a computer malfunction. Like it's not the end of the world. Like go get a cup of coffee, come back, I'll walk you through it. And so that alchemy energy is at the underbelly of everything he does. He is able to turn any kind of situation into gold. He's the same with like with like motorcycles that he's had, cars that he's had, where he fixes them up and he like makes them better. So it's not even like just about like taking this in the literal sense with that 47. It's like, how do you change things for good? Like, how are you that person that takes something that's not so shiny, not so spectacular, and you make it better for other people? And you get to teach other people how to do that as well. So infuse that with the thing that you're passionate about, and you'll start having a little bit more fun. Da, da, da. Ooh, 5-1 manifesting generator. We had so much 5-1 energy. You turn that frown upside down because being a 5-1 manifesting generator is like so beautiful. I'm like obsessed with 5-1 manifesting generators. Is there motivation or place to gather energy in your keys? Ooh, gathering energy before I hit on the 5-1. Gathering energy talking has always physically drained me, but I need to more for business. One of my favorite ways for me personally that I've experienced this is through showing up with my profile line. So this is what I've covered in quite a few lives before, but I'm always happy to share it because it makes me so like, I love it. And I've seen how it helps other people. But so I used to try to show up, and Miss 5-1, you can tune in on this too, because you'll probably feel this on a deep level. So I used to try to show up whenever I talk, whenever I'd write, post, whenever I would like get on lives, and I would try to go into the ooey gooey, like over emotional side, and almost be showing up like a line 3 or a line 4. And I found out after years of doing that, like I wasn't able to post as often, and B, like getting on camera didn't feel really good. Oh, you're a 5-1 too. Yeah. Getting on camera didn't feel as good because I just like kind of felt like I was airing my dirty laundry, like, and it felt almost like against the grain, where for like 3s or 4s, they're like, ooh, I'm here to share the story and tell you all about this. But for me as a 5, I was like, I hate this. Like, this doesn't feel good. And so what I found out being a 5 is I had so much more energy when I started to listen to myself. Oh, I'm glad it resonates. When I started to listen to myself, and the fact that like, I don't want to write 5 million carousel posts like a novella. Like, I just don't want to do that. And so I started like realizing every place in my life was the same as like whenever it came to posting online. So where I was like trying to do all of this extra stuff, go over and above, instead of just making one quick movement or like dropping that like lickety split wisdom. And so because I started creating my content that way, I started having so much more energy throughout my day. So I just started showing up, and instead of having it be super long and crazy and like very involved, it was just fast, it was easy, and it was fun. Right? Because that's what feels good to my 5 energy. And so that is the place that I would start with, whatever your human design profile is, really tuning into that first number, playing and having fun with that second number, but really tune into that first number about how you show up best. So with the 1s, you know, they're going to have the facts, they're going to have the wisdom, they're going to have the knowledge, they're going to have these things that like make you feel secure, right? The 2, it's very intuitive, it's very passionate, it's very aesthetic. The 3, it's all about adventure. It's all about the seeing how things worked out and what you learned whenever it didn't work out. With the 4, it's all about like sharing your big squishy heart and like bringing people together. With the 5, it's that practical, fast wisdom. So if you are a 5 and you want to see an example of that, make sure you go follow me over on Instagram, because like I'm dropping that stuff every day, like dropping it every day. Same with like over on Threads. That's the exact same thing I do. I get real squirrely on Threads. Like I get real squirrely, but yeah. And if you're a 6, like you have lived that life of the 3, you lived the adventure, you lived that roller coaster, and now you're here to talk about it from like the alien's perspective, from like the hawk's eye view, and guide people in the right direction. My Instagram is Hey Stephanie Eastman. Hey Stephanie Eastman, Hey. It's funny because like whenever my mom calls me, she always says, Hey Stephanie Eastman. And I couldn't make a profile with just Stephanie Eastman. So I was like, Hey Stephanie Eastman.
Okay, let me see.
Yeah. So any 5s, like get up on that profile and just watch. Cause like I'm literally experimenting as I go, and it gets more clear, it gets more defined. Like you have to be willing to take the action to get the results to a certain degree. Like it's not all just mindset. It's not all just energy. Of course you believe these things about yourself, but like there is that element whenever you're running your online business and you're like getting really crystal clear about what your message is and like who your ideal client is. You just got to keep making stuff instead of just sitting back and saying, I'm recalibrating. I have found that I feel so much more physically calm and happy in my body, even on days where like I don't feel crystal clear showing up for my business, because we know there are just those days where it's like, oh my God, I'm like out here teaching all this stuff. And it's like, who do you think you are? And it's like, girl, get your act together. Like figure yourself out. But like, I'm not going to not create on those days, because like, there's going to be like, maybe I walk myself through something and then I post through that. And like, the more that you create, the more clear you become. So even on those days where you're like, oh, I just want to sit back and like, I'll figure it out. Or like next week I'll do it. It's like, just keep creating, because that's going to feel even better on your nervous system than not creating and putting it off further. Something I found in my Keys to Content Masterclass, I have it up in the link in my bio. I'm obsessed with it. Whenever you sign up for that one, by the way, you get an hour of one-to-one boxer coaching, and it is superior. But in that Keys to Content Masterclass, I talk a lot about like seeing yourself as plugged in all the time, and like, instead of just like scrounging for posts, like understanding you have so much wisdom already inside of you that like people are wanting to hear. And if you can start to think about yourself as this person that any hour, any minute, any day, you have something delectable and delicious that your ideal client is hungry for, just in this beautiful little brain of yours, you will start showing up differently on social media than ever before. So just saying. God, Manny Jens, I love you all so much, and you are beautiful. I have so much fun with manifesting generators. With that little secret too, I always call like a 6-2s, and I'm a 5-2. I call them the secret twos for some reason. I don't know why. I just like to call them the secret twos, even though most people like interpret your energy more like a 2. Like, it's funny. So that little secret 2 energy is just, I have been saying so much lately of just like, I'm almost like cutting out the bullshit whenever it comes to the line 2s. There's so much crap about this hermiting energy. And like, this is where if you love to like go by rules and systems, like this is where you're either going to be like yay or nay whenever it comes to my content. Cause I am not a rule follower, even though my husband's called me a square before. I am not a rule follower, because honestly, I think that this idea of the 2 being the hermit all the time, like keeps people small. If that's the only explanation you ever get of the 2, it's like, there's so much magic in being a 2. And it's like, you almost have to cut out the bullshit and like own who you are and what it is that you do for people. You have to be crystal clear as a 2, because whenever you do come out, it's almost like a genie in a bottle, right? So like you have your time to develop your craft, but then eventually you have to come out, say exactly what it is that you do the thing, and then you can go back in your little bottle and have your own little time. But I think so many people just see it as the hermit and just see it as I'm an introvert and I don't want to show up. It's like, actually, if you can see that as your superpower, as you like develop your craft, think about Batman, like how he goes and he makes I don't even like superheroes. I don't know why I'm saying this, but he like goes and he like gets all of his gear and his machines in the daytime. And then he goes out at night and he just like can fly across the buildings with his little hooks, and he's like rearing and ready to go. I have no idea where this Batman talk just came from. So somebody had a picture of Batman. That was for you. A 6-2 generator. Ooh, lots of 6-2s. Lots of 6-2s energy. I feel like I don't know how to survive Earth. It's because you're an alien, Luna. And that's okay to be an alien. Like, as a 6, you are truly so divine, and people either see you as like, holy crap, this is the person that has all the answers, or they're like, this is kind of like the crazy pants bananas person that it's just not for me. And that is okay. Like, when did it become such a thing that we want everybody to like us? You know what I mean? Like, that you don't like everybody. Why do you need everybody to like you? You know what I mean? Like, not every single person is your flavor, and that's okay. And so whenever you stop feeling like you don't know how to survive Earth and actually say, I have a much better grasp than the majority of people. Like, I'm a big talk yourself up kind of gal. Like, whatever the strengths are in the profile lines in your certain gene keys, I like zoom in on those things and I make mantras around those. And so start to see yourself as like, nobody else has the know-how that I do, because I can literally sit up here in this tree. I can literally hover my body over a situation and know all of the different directions it's going to go in and know where to point people and how I can help them through. So like, your clients need your wisdom through your experience, through the things that you've experienced. And sixes sometimes feel so of the like in this world, but not of it, because they've like lived all of the different lives of all the other profile lines. And that can feel like very discombobulating. You know what I mean? Whenever you've had so many different understandings of this world and it feels like everybody else is just focused in on one thing. And you're like, I have so many things. Like, understand that you being able to see that like alien vibe as a good thing, as this like, you are in technicolor when everybody else is in black and white, like that changes the game. So first and foremost, instead of it being a weakness, it never is. It never ever is. It's how we view these things that are in our charts. Oh, thank you, Brooke. You are so welcome. Thorough. I like that. I had somebody from my Keys to Confidence course. She, like, we were doing a review, we were talking about all the things she learned. She said how practical I was 3 different times and like strategy. And I was like, oh my God, that is like music to my ears, because for so long I taught in the spiritual airy fairy realm. And so I've learned to like take that information and anchor it down and like take action, get your hands dirty, what that all means. And so she called me practical and I was like, I'm like in love with that. I'll be practical all day long. Practical and crazy. It's good. It's a good thing. But yeah, if you want to learn how to read these gene keys, I'm just going to keep talking about it because I'm obsessed with this course and I love having hot seat coaching in group courses. I love bringing new people in, whether you're like brand spanking new to the gene keys or you've been doing this for a while. Because in my first round of this course, I had some people that had been in the gene key world for years. And they're like, Stephanie, I like the way that you talk about it. I want to see these through the lens of business, how I can show up differently, how I can work with clients with this information. So it doesn't matter where you're at with the gene keys. When you sign up for Decode Your Keys, you get right now, if you sign up for it before Friday, you get the pre-sale pricing, which this is the lowest it's going to be from here on out. I love teaching about the gene keys and I want to keep teaching about them in like an easy and fun way. You get instant access. Why am I doing it this way? You get instant access to the first round of the course where we really dove into all the different profile lines inside each and every one of the spheres of the gene keys. And so you get that instant access, you get that pre-sale pricing, and then mid-September, we start our live classes where we're like mapping out your business. We're going into all 64 of the gene keys, and there's space for hot seat coaching in there. So you can ask your questions about business strategy, about gene keys, about human design. I'm so here for it. So if that is something that you're like, oh, that feels fun to my soul, make sure you go sign up and get in on that pre-sale pricing. You can't find me? Can I type on here? Hang on. I know I can type on here. How do I do this? I forget. Oh, I think it's interact. These are fun. I never play with all of this stuff. There. Okay. Here. Hey, Stephanie Eastman. IG. I probably look like a squirrel, huh? Okay. Hey, Stephanie Eastman. Yeah, that's my Instagram. Mm-mm. I didn't know I needed to hear that. Thank you. You are welcome. I love that little emoji with the bright eyes. It makes me so happy. I often say, like, I teach these gene keys through the idea of like an emoji, through the idea of a sentence instead of 6 pages of very beautiful but poetic information. But like, let's make it simple so that you can gobble it up and go use it. If you, Rhiannon, I like it both. So if you are brand spanking new, go Google free Gene Key profile. And whenever you Google free Gene Key profile, the Gene Key website will come up. You click on that guy and it will take you to a place where you can enter your date, time, location of birth. And then whenever you do that, it will pull up a chart with 11 different circles. And all of these circles mean something different. All of these numbers mean something different. But if you follow me over here, you follow me on Instagram, I post a lot of content about that kind of stuff every single day. And also if you're like, oh, I really love this and I'm hungry for more of this information, you can go to the link in my bio and sign up for the Decode Your Keys class that starts in September. It is on pre-sale right now, so it's a good time to join in. But yeah, and then I get on these lives most days of the week and do kind of like mini lessons while I answer questions about people's different profile lines, about their different gene keys. It's really fun because if you have a lot of like 0.4 energy in your chart, you do really well with like having community, having groups, interacting with others. And something I realized I was not utilizing at first whenever I started my online business is in like 3 out of 4 of my pearl spheres, I had 0.4s. And so once I started to do all of these lives with other business owners and started like really getting on lives and like building community, that's when everything started changing because I was listening to my gene keys and like leaning into the superpowers that were in there. Me. I mean, I don't see why it would be any different for any person that puts in this information. What it does, these gene keys, some people will focus in solely on like the stuff that they need to fix in their life. And like if you've never done the deep diving work in spirituality, like it may point you in the right direction of like what you need to look at, what you need to understand. And that is like that fine and dandy and beautiful if that's how you want to take it and interpret it. For me personally, I came from a background of doing spiritual work. I came from the background of doing emotional healing, all of those things. And so I had lived and breathed in the shadow work for a very long time. And it was one of those things where I continued to feel like I was circling the drain and like not really making any forward movement. But once I found these gene keys, for me personally, the way that I interpret them is through the lens of business and through the lens of like the action that you can take and turning on these higher qualities inside yourself and seeing like what it is that you're actually capable of, what it is that makes you stand out, what it is that makes you different. And so that is the side of the gene keys that I fully live and breathe and lean into. That's the side that I feel called to teach on. And other people are free to interpret them in their own way. But I have seen personally and with other business owners and with clients how this helps people to feel more like themselves as they attract clients, people to feel more like themselves whenever they make content, and people to feel more like themselves as they make money doing what they love online. So that is the way that I interpret them. But you are free, obviously, to take this information that is in the gene keys and see it through your own point of view and use it the way that it's going to help you. So I truly believe that it doesn't matter where you're at in your life and in your journey. If you've come across these, it's at the right time. It's for the right reason. If it's something you want to dig into, go for it. It is grand. It is wonderful. But if you're like, no, I'm not drawn to it, then that's okay too. It's all in your hands, right? But blah, blah, blah. Let me know if anybody else has any questions. I'm matching again. Yeah, it feels like a very chill day because, like I said at the beginning of this live, we don't get a lot of cloudy days in the desert. Like, that's just not something that happens. And so, whenever, like, and I'm from the Midwest where like half of the year it rained. And so I was always used to that. Right. And so, here, whenever it happens, I'm like, oh, this is like groovy. I kind of like this. Mm-mm. All right. Yeah, I'm not sure. I would just enter the information as correctly as you possibly can and see what comes up. Because truly, I'm a big believer too that if you don't know the exact time that you were born, that's a question that comes up a lot for people. Like, oh, I don't know what time I was born. And so I've seen where like it almost makes more of a dent in your human design than it does in your gene keys, like whether you're a manifestor, whether you're a manifesting generator, where like the times really seem to matter, and especially in your defined areas. There was somebody that I found a website where it like ran all of the possible different ones by like 3 hour increments during the day for somebody and how much it changed. But with the gene keys, unless it's like on that cusp, a lot of times like it won't change that much, or maybe like just your attraction will change depending on the exact time. But what I love to tell people, like I had a friend that the first time she came across the gene keys, she entered her birthday wrong and she was like, I love this. This feels so much like me, blah, 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 blah. And then she realized a week later that it was wrong. And so she was like, she put in her new chart. She's like, this doesn't feel like me at all. And she wasn't somebody that was like, super into this stuff. So she was just kind of like, whatever, I don't care anymore. But for a lot of people, I just tell them, like, if you come across certain information, use it as inspiration. Don't use it as written in blood. You did that too. Nice. Yeah. Don't like, it's not written in blood. It's not written in stone. Like, you can look at that other chart, even if it's not quote unquote yours, and get something from it. Like, you can get information from it that maybe you're like, ooh, I really like that gene key. And I want to like bring that into the way that I work. I want to challenge myself to learn more about this about myself and like turn this on inside my system. Because at the end of the day, we all have all 64 of these gene keys. But in your chart, there is a zoom in on the 11 that you are especially good at and especially learning in this life. But that does not mean you are bound and held by just these things. You get to decide. You are the captain of your own ship, because at the end of the day, gene keys, astrology, human design is channeled out information. This is where like my line 5 really comes through. And like I used to, like, I would have never said this shit before, but like I just don't care anymore. Because it's true. Like, it's channeled out information. We use it as a guide. We use it as a fun map. We use it as inspiration, not as something that we take as Bible or law. Because truly, at the end of the day, you or I could sit down in a fluffy meadow and channel out beautiful information that changes the game and changes the way people see their lives. Like, you are just as powerful as the person that channeled out this information. And I want you to always see yourself like that. So this is my 7th gene key talking as well, because it's all about like, it has a little twang of anarchy in it and it has a little like crazy leadership in there. So I let that part come out and express itself when it needs to, because like you get to make the rules of what it is that makes you successful and not be under the thumb of anything else out there. Like, you're in charge of your own destiny in the long run. So if you would love to learn these gene keys from me in a way that is fun, that is easy, and that just feels really good, it feels like a rainbow, like sparkle to your soul, make sure you go to the Decode Your Keys link in my bio and sign up, because that pre-sale ends on Friday. I'm going to be on here a few times before then. But if you are somebody that has been craving more one-to-one support and you really want a business coach who will cover strategy, who will bring in the gene keys and human design to help illuminate all of the things that make you shine. And not only that, I use my little intuitive fairy godmother wisdom mixed in with your business to help keep you motivated, and just so you feel like you have an extra set of eyes on your business, and that you're not walking this path alone. Like, you have support as you are showing up daily, as you are like putting out the courses, as you're putting out your coaching, and you just want somebody there to help guide you and help walk you through it. I am here for you. I have a 3-month package right now for $5,000. And what you can do with that is even break that up over 3 months as well with payment plans. But yeah, if you've just been craving this kind of support, reach out to me, DM me, and I can send you through that application. And also, like I said, I have my Decode Your Keys course that's coming up. We start September 18th, but you get in on it today. You get that pre-sale price, you get instant access. And also, I have my pre-recorded little masterclass, Keys to Content. It's a 2-part masterclass. And with that masterclass, you get an hour of one-to-one Voxer support where I answer some of your questions about your Gene Keys. But there's all the different ways, but make sure you follow me on Instagram. You follow me over here, and I will be back this week. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye. Thank you for joining me, and I will talk to you later. The link for all those different things are in my bio. Bye-bye.